folks, I've been tagged. Yeah, Dave of Border Rambler fame has tagged me to come up with 5 tips for beginners getting into wild camping. It's quite nice really, because if your YouTube station's mostly about wild camping at this time, obviously you can't do it, so it gives me the opportunity to try something else. I'm not going to do this like top of the pop, so I count down to number 1, no particular order. So tip number 1, really important for me, keep a checklist of your gear. So when you're planning your trip, well, I do this, you can systematically go down your list, ticking everything off. If I didn't do this, I'd forget stuff all the time. Without a list, it'd be one disaster after another for me. Some people have better memories than me, but I really recommend having a list. This little collection of buildings here go by the good Lancashire name of Toppethill, and I've got an old connection here myself. I found out a couple of years ago that my great, yeah, I think it were 3 greats, grandparents lived here for a time in the 1800s. Right, tip number 2, always tell someone where you're going. I always let the missus know what my plans are when I'm doing a trip, and sometimes my plans change, so I always make sure I keep her abreast of any changes as well. And another little thing that I do, if I can, when I'm pitched up, I'll GPS my location on View Ranger or OS Maps. I'll screenshot that image and then I'll send it as a WhatsApp so she knows exactly where I'm camping. This bit of old pasture here, it's about 10 minutes from our house on foot, and it's a place I come a lot in late spring, May time, because it is an absolutely stunning display of wildflowers. It's really quite diverse, one of the best wildflower meadows around here, and going along with that, it's full of insects. A few different kinds of bumblebee. There's a really nice moth that you can get here called the Chimney Sweeper. Tip number 3, be sensible where you pitch your tent. Now in the north of England, a good guide I use is pitch high above the last field wall, so you're on the open moor or the mountain. Where you don't have that guide, just be sensible in that you're not too close to people's houses. Pick a rural location where you're not going to be a nuisance to anyone else, and they're not going to be a nuisance to you if they come and investigate and ask you what you're up to and stuff. And one other thing I'd add on to that, it's always a good idea to pitch your tent late and to pack up in the morning early. And then again, you've just got less chance of drawing attention to yourself and being disturbed or getting into any bother. Tip number 4, and I'm going to go all Jerry Marsden on you now, God rest his soul, and that is don't be afraid of the dark. And linked to that, don't be afraid of camping on your own. Now I didn't think this would be a stumbling block for people, but a bit back I watched one of Ray's videos, Renegade Scot's, where he talked about I don't know, creepy things that go bump in the night, the weird noises that you can hear when you're wild camping. And yeah, I would imagine that could be a bit of a deterrent for some people. But for me personally, it kind of all adds to it, because 9 times out of 10, every noise that you hear is usually wildlife. It might be an owl, it could be something scurrying about in the grass, it might be a curlew flying at night. But for me, those noises are all part of the package. When I'm camping out on a quiet moor on my own, and I'm lying awake in the dark, just every now and again you'll hear some sort of noise. And like I said, there's always an explanation for it. I actually like it. I find it quite comforting knowing that I'm out there in the countryside, I'm close to nature, I'm away from the urban world. So don't let ghosties and ghouls and weird noises and being on your own camping be any sort of deterrent. It just adds to the magic. I'm just letting you know that I'm just on a descent now to a local nature reserve. It's an old colliery. It's got quite wooded and overgrown. Some good sort of industrial history and archaeology here. But what I've done, I brought me like a little tub of bird food. I believe people feed the birds here. And I'm going to scatter some down and just sit there for a bit. I've got the camera and just see if anything decent comes to the food. Someone said you get nuthatches down here, which I've not seen yet this year, tree creepers. So I'm hoping I can get some photos of them, or even just see them. Some nice seasonal fungi here. This one's called Scarlet Elf Cup. There's always quite a bit of it at this location. Right, tip number 5, last one. One that's very important to me. Take an interest in your surroundings when you go wild camping, your location, your area. Wild camping just takes you to these amazing locations that offer so much more than just a good view and a place to pitch your tent. There's the wildlife, there's the history, there's elements of archaeology. There's just so many layers to a trip out wild camping. And when you pack all them together, it creates a really appealing package. It just adds to the whole experience. I mean, usually if I'm going somewhere, especially if it's somewhere new, I'll do a bit of research on the internet first, see if there's anything en route or nearby that I might want to take a detour to. I don't know, whether it's a rare plant, whether it's an old stone circle or something like that. And likewise, when I get home, I like to learn even more. So again, I'm on the internet, just checking things out, finding about the history, maybe of some of the old buildings that I passed. Wild camping is just so much more than a night out in a tent. Well, it is for me anyway, and that is a massive part of the draw. Right, I'm going to pack it in there. The birds are coming down to the food I've put down. I know at this point it's customary to tag in more people to keep this going, but to be honest, the people I'd had in mind have already been tagged by others, so I'll leave it at that for now. I hope to be out again soon, whether it's a walk, whether it's a wild camp, but for now, look after yourselves and I'll see you soon, hopefully.